Hope you had a good lunch. Let's begin. I know the biggest complication is post-lunch. This is always the biggest complication. I think we'll try our level best to make it more interactive, lively, and have an interesting question. So welcome back. I think you are in the third session after the inaugural. You had a resilience as a topic. Hope you enjoyed the resilience in the organization. Now I think let's give back something to our obviously to society, to the country, something has to give back, right? So once you develop your business more resilient, you need to give back, and that's where we're going to discuss about sustainability, right? Which is also very critical, not only for the company, individual, and for the nation, I think everywhere, right? So how to create a sustainable and environmental friendly supply chain. That's a session theme in the session 2. Very glad to be here to act as a session moderator for the session. I think we have a panel panel of experts on the dais now. I'll probably introduce all of them one by one, and then we'll begin the session, yeah? So we have like close to 6 experts in the panel to discuss about the sustainability. I'll invite Mr. Abhishek Gaurav. So welcome, Mr. Abhishek. He's the head of supply chain planning and logistics at Britannia Industries Limited. He's a seasoned supply chain professional with 16 years of experience. And prior to this, he was like a scientist B at the gas turbine research establishment. So welcome, Abhishek. Very, very glad to have you. I think, I know I was telling Gaurav, right? I think in terms of Britannia, you reach rural, you go to a retail level, handling the multiple complex supply chain. Would love to get to your thoughts of your handling sustainability as well, right? So, welcome, Abhishek. We have Ms. Florence Pettit. Welcome. She's a country head of supply chain management at Legrand India. 14 years of experience in driving change and continuous improvement across various industries and geographies. Very, very glad to have you. I know you actually work both cost and carbon footprint. Would love to understand from your industry point of view where you're driving. So, welcome, Florence. We have Mr. Manoj Sharma, who is the head of supply chain and business processes at Zeus India. 17 years of rich experience, multiple expertise, logistics, warehousing, demand, supply planning, and with rich experience from Britannia and Whirlpool. So very glad to have you, Mr. Manoj. I think not only from your current industry, even from your previous industry, you kind of share your thoughts and process on this subject. That'll be helpful. We have Mr. Sitaraman Srinivasan, who is the head of operations for Smart Wearables Titan Company Limited. 24 years of experience, rich experience in commercials, customer support, supply chain, logistics across multiple MNCs. Very, very glad to have you, Mr. Sitaraman. We have Mr. Sumit Joshi, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer at Adverb. Welcome, Sumit. Very glad to have you. 27 years of experience driving change across industries with a multi-locational team management, with the expertise in talent management, organization development, and so on and so forth, right? So very, very happy to have you, Sumit. Would love to hear from your side how this topic is more important and close to you. And last but not the least, we have Ms. Sujita Bansal. Welcome. She's a global supply chain lead GM from Maersk. Over 2 decades of experience. You actually worked in several leading companies, IBM, Amazon, Birla. I think rich experience covering a lot of subjects, e-commerce, a lot of functions like manufacturing, healthcare. So very, very glad to have you, Sujita, and would love to kind of hear your thoughts on this subject, right? I think sustainability is very close to all of us, right? Because I know today the need will arise over a period of time. But I think the next generation, I was talking to the panel, right? Next generation is actually need a sustainable product. They're also like need a sustainable delivery and so on and so forth, right? I think that's where this topic is becoming very important. I think there are multiple topics involved in this: net zero emissions, circular value chain, alternate packaging, responsible sourcing, and so on and so forth, right? But let's step back and understand some of the key elements on this area from all these experts. I think this 1 hour may not be enough. Let's keep the session this way. We'll probably have the round robin of discussions with all the experts. We'll keep the last 10 minutes for the Q&A, and feel free to ask your questions. You can have any specific question to specific individual expert you can ask. Otherwise, you can route through the question to anyone. Yeah, that's how we'll begin the session. So I'll go back to the dais. Thank you. Good. Audible, right? Yeah, good. I think probably I'll start maybe with Abhishek. One of the key questions which would love to kind of get from your thought. I know you come from Britannia. As I mentioned, like it's connecting to the last mile, and with a good complexity, right, in terms of your multiple layers of network, distributors, and so on and so forth. The logistics is not easy, very, very complex. Right? Maybe from your viewpoint, from your industry, from your vantage point of view, right? So what are the three areas from your side, from your industry side, which is very, very important, and what you recommend to begin the journey? Because any industry would think about sustainability is not an easy game. For the leadership, its cost is important, but sustainability is important in different dimensions, right? So what, maybe like 2-3 areas you would recommend to kind of begin the journey, which is interest of both commercial as well as sustainability angle? I think that would be helpful, Abhishek, if you could actually share some of your thoughts.
Good afternoon, all of you. So I will talk about from a perspective of food processing. So I will talk about the two areas. One is on the back-end side, which is the manufacturing, and on the front-end side, which is about the distribution. So on the back-end side, in the manufacturing side, we are looking at two levers. One is the energy management, because in our industry, we use a lot of fuel, etc., for baking the products and all. So energy management is one of the key focus areas in this industry. So if I talk about energy management, there are multiple levers. One is that how do you move away from the fossil fuel, move towards more of renewable energy. This is one of the key areas where the company has been working on. Apart from that, how do you conserve the energy, wherever it is being used, by reducing the waste and all. So the energy conservation is also one of the themes which we have been working on. And apart from that, using more and more advanced technologies to reduce the energy consumption or energy efficiency. So these are the multiple levers on which we have been working in the area of energy management. If I talk about the other important area, that will be the water stewardship. So here again in this industry, we use a lot of water for food processing. So here also, this is one of the focus areas for us. So here also we look at how do we use the water more responsibly. Then how do you tweak the technology and process so that the overall water consumption comes down. Then also there is a focus on how do you reduce the water waste by taking various initiatives. And then how do you recycle the water, use some of the techniques like rainwater harvesting, etc., to further increase the water uses, etc. So these are the areas of water stewardship. If I talk about the front end, so as Ganesh was talking about, we have a large distribution network where we use the large number of trucks, which in turn is linked to the CO2 emissions, etc. So here also we are working on this. So one of the key themes is how do you go for a EV adoption. So right now, electrical vehicles, though they are of a smaller capacity, etc., where we have started using in the front end, like for distribution from a distributor to a retail. So a lot of the distributors are moving towards EV vehicle. We are also evaluating as and when the large size vehicle comes, how do you move to a mode of EV adoption for the dispatches from the factory to the warehouses, etc. Right? Apart from that, since we have a large distributed footprint, we also see that how do you reduce the overall distance traveled, which in turn reduces the number of vehicles used or the distance to cover up the market. So these are some of the areas where we have been actively working on. And for a starter, these are the areas which can be looked at to start with.
No, I think awesome, right? I think the EV is very interesting. Would love to kind of get to know more, maybe the second round, I think I would like to kind of get to know more that as well, Abhishek. Maybe we probably change gears. Manoj, I would like to kind of ask something, from your industry vantage point of view. Maybe before that, I probably play the video. I think it's a very emotional video. And anytime we talk about sustainability, is also it's society, how we can actually give back to society. I think let's probably watch a video, then come back to Manoj. Why can't you play the video, yeah, with the proper audio, please? Yeah.
When we did the school donation activity for the first time, and when you see the kids smiling when they got the new benches, it was really inspiring to see them, that how happy they were with this simple addition. I'm Manoj Sharma, Head of Supply Chain and Business Processes. I'm leading the sustainability agenda also for Carl Zeiss India. So some of these programs are like continuous programs for us. Let's say the bench project, they are ongoing projects. Eventually what is happening is the boxes that we get for making our machines, which is used by engineers, is then again going back to making school benches, which is generating the future generation of engineers at schools. So this kind of, for me, makes it a circle of life. And we have done almost 12 schools. We have distributed the benches and tables, augmenting almost 1,200 student seating capacity up until date. So in the vegetable farming project that we are doing at the backyard of our campus, we do the harvest of almost 1,200 kgs every month. We distribute it to our employees and the security staff, which has become now an ecosystem in itself, where we are supporting the community, the immediate community that we have. For me, the most important part is that everything that we create today, there is an impact to our future generation. My name is Dhaval Radia. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Zeiss in India. There are two really important things when we talk about sustainability, and that is moderation and replenishment. Moderation in terms of everything that we consume, the resources that we consume as much as it is needed. And replenishment means replenish it whenever we can. We being the pioneer in the field of science and tech, it also comes with added responsibility of how we are contributing to the society, back to the society. And what I realized is that there is so much need as we go down deeper. There's so many people who need help, right? And when we do this help to the society, we create value in the society. So today's students will tomorrow become engineers. And probably this is the value that we can say that we have created. Zeiss is doing a lot of projects, right from small to big ones. But primarily, they are focused towards education, healthcare, and environment initiatives. I think it's very important for Zeiss. Personally, I feel it's important for everybody to participate in Earth Day. The Earth Day is a kind of a reminder for us for ensuring that sustainability remains at the forefront of everything we do.
Unfortunately, we have to have this type of days in order to remind that we need to be considered in terms of promoting the environment. I wish that one time we don't need to celebrate because it's part of our life.
Very touching, Manoj. Thanks. I think I don't need to ask the question why, why it is needed, but I think I was coming from the fact where you said, right, one is like a back to society. I think most of the time we think sustainability, yeah, obviously from the company angle, from the dimension of how we can improve the our ecosystem. So I think this is a fabulous, touching and emotional, right? I think, I know we have seen the journey. Maybe, how do we kind of bring this, I mean, how was the journey for you, right? How this organization actually, any organization can think through this, because today I know we actually have a goals, we have a specific margin to achieve and so on and so forth, right? So how do you kind of motivate people? Because this is the ecosystem of your people also has come along, right? So what was the journey? If you could share, why it is important, everyone knows. And what was your journey and how you motivated the entire ecosystem to get into this? Maybe I think would be helpful to get to know from you, Manoj.
Yeah, a very interesting question, Ganesh, first of all. I think, first of all, I would say that while it can be influenced, but motivation for sustainability or any good cause actually is intrinsic in every individual. What you can influence is probably spark or give people opportunity or platform to basically, showcase, are they interested in doing something like this? So for us, I would say, Kazais, as a company, it is very ingrained in basically, this company is 177-year-old company. So this year will be probably celebrating November 178th year. This is a company which is a German MNC and has seen 2 world wars in its whole tenure. There are very few companies worldwide who have stayed on board and stayed still relevant to their customers, for such a long period. If we go back in time and see in 1879, probably when the purpose of the company was established, there was a word which was used that we want to be responsible to the society, right? Yeah. And I believe this in every business, somewhere or the other, I think whether it is food business, whether it is, electrical, electronics, everywhere, somewhere we are trying to add some value to our customers and consumers. And when we look at that and we say that, how can we make sure that we do it more responsibly? That's where I think the motivation comes from, right? So as Abhishek mentioned that, how, and I have been part of some of the journey working with Abhishek, I can say that the kind of focus on total distance travel that Abhishek was mentioning some time back was huge, not from now, but from, I think, some time back, where they started to reduce. Of course, many of these initiatives come from a commercial angle, but they have a direct impact on sustainability as well.
Yeah, I think, thanks, Manoj. I think this is super inspirational, right? I think end of the day, business, yes, we do, but I think how do we kind of connect the dots? Very, very helpful. Maybe I think the question to Florence, maybe, right? The question from you, I think you come from a Legrand as a company. I think from your viewpoint and from your actually experience, what are the challenges you face? Because what I see from a client, right? Any cost reduction project or a margin improvement project or a cash flow project, that I think is very clear. It's get actually approved in the board and then move on, right? But if at all we have to do a sustainability-oriented project, right? How that actually get approved at the board? What are the challenges you actually overcome and how you overcome, some of the ideas which you thought to do as a leader and how your company is doing that? Maybe is it a top management commitment coming along to support this? Or is it something like you have to go with a commercial angle to the idea? Because that is, let's speak very frankly, right? Because sometimes sustainability is great, but I think can we show a commercial angle? So those are some of the thoughts which I'm getting from client, right? So maybe from your viewpoint, what are the challenges you face? How you actually handle those to kind of take the sustainability project to next level? Would be love to hear from you.
Okay, sorry. So of course, no challenge in Legrand in terms of getting support from the organization because sustainability is a very, very important part of our objectives. So we're definitely, even at the supply chain level, we're getting full support, and I will say even a lot of pressure to decrease our carbon footprint. So that's not really an issue, but then there are other issues we need to look into. One is that operationally it has to be workable, and yes, in terms of cost also, we do not want to have a major impact on the P&L, right? So I'll give maybe, so there are many types of challenges, but I'll give maybe 2 examples. So in the downstream transportation, we have very tight objectives, to reduce our CO2. And Legrand, of course, is handling a lot of transportation because we do have most of our production based in India, around 80%, with 8 factories spread across the country. We have warehouses as well all across the country, so and our market as well. So two challenges I faced. I would say 3 years ago when I joined Legrand, we started to look into sustainable transportation solutions, focusing notably on EV and on rail movements, because that's a straight away, cut into the CO2. So EV, a complex market and fairly new market as well. 3 years ago, especially, it was really not developed, very limited players, and the transporters were also not much involved actually into this trend. It was mostly like, I would say, private players who were, taking purchases on demand, some EVs, and then giving on lease. And the cost was also very high. We also had a lot of questions on how we will operate, because these companies are not transporters. They don't have logistics hubs, right? So suppose they are just, providing the vehicle and driver. So we do have to manage, the day-to-day operations. Then suppose the client refused the goods because, I don't know, his warehouse is full, then how do we bring back the material to our warehouse? So all these complexities were there. The cost was also quite high from what we were getting. Of course, limitation in terms of load capacity, because most of the EV vehicles are, even till today, around 2 tons. 2-ton capacity. Distances also, we cannot run more than 110 kilometers without being charged, so we are really limited to the local deliveries. But I think the market has quite well evolved, mentalities as well. And lately, we have seen a lot of new players coming in, so that's become more competitive. The prices have gone down. The offers are also more flexible, where we are able to get monthly lease for the vehicles. And the transporters have also shown some interest and enthusiasm. So what we have done in Legrand is that now we are working through our transporters, actually, talking to our transporters, asking them to contract with these EV companies on our behalf. And then we work with them, I would say, as per our normal, usual contracts, right? So for us, it does not change much. They see that for them, it's actually economical because we get sufficient loads actually to run the operations. They run it, I will say, in the usual way with their transportation hubs. And they can also use the vehicles for other customers as well, right? It becomes part of their fleet. So we have used that model now for the last couple of months in Delhi NCR and in Mumbai. And we have the intention to implement in all the metro cities. So basically Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Calcutta, and Chennai to start with. But so far, so good. It's running well in terms of cost. It's not more expensive than, I would say, normal trucks. And operation-wise, also, it's working smoothly. So yes, it's very much possible, and I think it's something quite new, but now it works quite well. And the second was the rail movements, because we also have a lot of long-distance movements from our factories to our warehouses, so basically full truck movements, stock transfers. So the best way, I would say, again, to cut on the energy here was to use the rail. But rail movement has been really, I would say, limited to the bulk transportation so far, mostly used by companies transporting steel, cement, coal, because they had to actually use the complete wagon to make it profitable. So it was expensive, plus there was also a concern in terms of safety of the material, in terms of handling. So it looked really difficult. But again, recently, a lot of transporters have come up in the market with multimodal solutions in which they contract with the railway system, and they propose to pick up the goods from our warehouse on weekly basis and our factories on weekly basis, bring it, do the loading into the rail, then bring it to the next rail station and deliver to our warehouse. So it's really like end-to-end multimodal solution. We have also made some trials and really satisfied so far in terms of cost. Lead time is also more or less, I will say, 1 day here and there, but comparable with trucks. And yeah, I mean, it's something which is developing, but it's really looking promising.
Thanks a lot. This is helpful, right? I think a lot more to learn, lot more to kind of take away, right? So maybe we'll come back and understand more. Maybe I'll switch gears. Maybe Mrs. Sitaraman, maybe you come from a Titan company limited, and then you actually kind of heading the smart wearables, right? So maybe one question from the operations point of view. I think we heard how do you kind of look at it from the end-to-end value chain, and a lot of area from EV, and then how do we kind of inspire the ecosystem, right? So mainly from warehousing and logistics, right? From your experience, right? What you have done in your company and what you are embarking as a journey, and how you actually kind of bring the balance, right? In terms of, I can actually look at the overall efficiency of my logistics from a sustainability versus cost point of view. Same with the warehousing as well, right? Maybe I think if you could touch mainly on warehousing part, um, what you are actually embarking as journey, and how do you kind of bring the cost versus sustainability point of view comparison, right? So that some of your experience would be helpful, Siddharaman. Yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. See, so coming from Titan as a Tata company, sustainability is a culture here, right? So anything and everything starts with giving more back to the people. That's how our ethos are there. So in terms of supply chain, right, there's a report which says that close to about 3.6 billion tons of CO2 emissions is from the supply chain and logistics industries alone, which is roughly about 8% of the world's emissions, right? So in that front, warehousing and logistics forms a huge impact in terms of the overall supply chain for any organizations as such. See, be it upstream or downstream, right? The central pivotal point for you has to be there. In terms of warehousing, in Titan, what we are now trying to do is, as a pre-qualifier for any of our warehousing projects or for the regional warehouses, we opt for operators who has an infrastructure with a lot of renewable resources, right? At least like 50% of the energy consumption is from the renewable resources like solar power installed, all those things, right? And recycling becomes a major part in the RFQ itself, right, for the warehousing and the logistics, whatever we float. Logistics, since we are a retail-based company, logistics plays a huge part, especially in the last mile and the middle mile deliveries for us. Long haul deliveries is still a challenge in terms of making it green. I don't think India has evolved in that front to become much more greener as of now. But at least we have taken baby steps in the last few years, especially with the introduction of EV vehicles in the middle mile and as well as in the last mile deliveries for us. Right? So that is also a pre-qualifier for us for appointing any of our vendors, right? Choosing any of our partners whose infrastructure is majorly tuned towards EV vehicles. That is a base for us right now. With that, for our long-term sustainability goals, we have set certain targets for us internally to bring our carbon footprint down to the minimal extent. Even, not just in Titan, even in my previous organizations, I think for supply chain, it holds a lot of value when it is much more digitally enabled. Because in my previous organization, we reaped a lot of benefits with an advanced digital supply chain where the control tower system was able to help us simulate the kind of carbon footprint what we had both in the upstream and the downstream, right? And which we had to pinpoint and choose the partners how we can bring that down. That's one of the major points for us.
Okay. No. Helpful, right? I think at least some of my clients, the awareness has come, right? Today, I think most of the clients, we do a lot of network design, we do a lot of routing optimization and so on and so forth. The prime goal is to bring the cost reduction, that's for sure. But at least in India, what's happening today, maybe 5 to 6 out of 10 clients, they want to get to know, tell me what is the baseline of my CO2 emissions in logistics and warehousing. Where am I today compared to the competitors? Where am I actually standing in terms of the global level? So that we can start at least the aspirations going forward, right? So I know we were discussing in the room, right? The carbon trading, Manoj, I think you were also sharing thoughts. Whether that's going to happen in India, I think it's happening in EU and North America and effectively, but if that comes, that change the needle, right? But another point is many people actually look at the technologies. How do we kind of take the technologies and leverage and then move on, right? So in that context, maybe Sumit, yeah, you come from Adverb company, right? Maybe I have actually gone through your, about the company vision, mission, and understanding of the company, right? So you focus, I know, on a technology element and so on and so forth. You also have a clear-cut goals on the ESG, right? The environmental, social, clear sustainability goals, right? So, I mean, how that connects to your current day-to-day operations, and how do you kind of bring the liveliness of those initiatives, and what do you do something different, right? So, if you could share from your industry viewpoint,
Sure,
be helpful
Ganesh.
for the audience to get to know. Yeah,
Thank you for that. Before I answer that, can I ask a question to the audience?
yeah, please.
Your audience.
Please.
How many of you have heard about Adverb? I mean, before today. Oh, that's a disaster, man. Disaster for you guys, not for us. You need to know about Adverb. I'll take 2 minutes to introduce Adverb and then I'll come to your point. So we are an 8-year-old startup, and I'm saying this probably the 7th time since morning. We are into warehouse automation. We are 170 years behind Manish or Manoj. Yeah. We basically provide flexible and fixed automation solutions to warehouses. If you have bought online during the Big Billion Day sale or the Great India sale, chances are your parcel would have passed through an Adverb solution. If you've bought a Dove soap or a packet of Lay's, a Pepsi, a Coke, parachute oil, chances are your grocer would have got that through an Adverb solution. If you own a Royal Enfield and you've sent your bike for maintenance, 100% chance that that spare part would have come through an Adverb solution. So that's the kind of automation we are doing in India and abroad. Coming to your point, Ganesh, so being a startup, we started expanding outside India about 3 years back. And that's when the reality of being sustainable hit us very hard. A lot of our European and US clients were demanding, where are you on sustainability? And we were nowhere. We were handling the chaos of a startup. So last 2 years, we've been very active on that. And I would divide our intervention on sustainability on 2 major initiatives. One is carbon, and the other is water. On carbon, we've sort of divided the entire thing into 3 phases. One is from the cradle to the gate, which is the upstream. Then from the gate to the gate, which is our premises. And then from gate to grave. We've been focusing on the gate to gate, which is our premises, over the last 2 years. And some of the significant things we've done is we've brought our power factor up. Power factor was around 0.88. We've got it up to 0.99. And most of you would know that if your power factor is below 0.95, you are inefficient in power usage. So we've crossed that threshold and moved on to an efficient phase of using power. Secondly, this 17% of our power consumption comes from solar energy, which means we are sort of 750 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent we are not generating in the environment by using solar power, and that's a big one for us. Thirdly, in our facility, we have a microforest built on the Miyawaki technique. It's a technique where you can plant trees very close by and still the trees will grow faster. Okay, so using the Miyawaki technique, we have 3 acres of land in our facility where we have more than 4,500 trees. We are probably neutralizing around 260,000 pounds of carbon through that forest. Also, the ambient temperature near that is 2 degrees lower. So if you are in Noida, NCR, 2 degrees in summer is a big deal. Okay, so that's the benefit we are reaping from that. So that's about the carbon thing. On the waterfront, both our factories have rainwater harvesting, which has been designed by the Rain Man of India, Mr. Shekhar Raghavan. Our capacities are around 450 KL. And last year, I think close to 4.7 million liters of water would have been recharged into the groundwater table. This year, we're expecting more because it's been raining like hell in Delhi over the last few months. So this year, I think we're going to cross that as well. On the waterfront, the other is, okay, in the larger factory that we have in Greater Noida, We also have a bioretention pond. That's again used, its capacity is around 800 KL. And we are again using the storm water which drains from the roads within the premise into that pond. It's used to recharge the ground table. So those are the important, maybe some of the key achievements we've had over the last 2 years.
Very, very interesting to know. Why the name Adverb? Any reason?
Add and verb. So we're putting intelligent action.
Okay.
That's the concept.
Wow. That's interesting to know. Good. Let me switch gears. I know we talked about the road, especially the warehousing and other part, right? Maybe one other area would be the ocean. I think you come from a Maersk, Sujita. Would love to kind of get your thoughts, right? How this is evolving in the ocean shipping, maritime shipping. So what are the new trends evolving? I mean, what I'm reading is like a lot of new fuel, clean energy, and so on and so forth, right? Maybe from an industry point of view, right? What you have seen, Maersk as a company, you would have seen multiple technologies and you probably would have adopted something. But what you as individual seeing in this industry, what is evolving? If something has, we would probably start the journey where we start. Maybe love to get your thoughts.
Sure. So thanks, Sunesh, and good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is awake after all the desserts and everything. So to answer your question, I was just reading, what are the latest trends in supply chain in generic, right? So the word trend itself catches attention. If you Google, the trend means a general direction, a drift, a change in the overall, the society, how it is thinking. So that itself shows that now sustainability is not a optional topic or a matter of discussion in forums. So that is how I wanted to start that. If you ask me, again, industry specific, ocean specific, a lot has happened. But in this limited time, I would like to focus, say, on the top 3 things that come on my mind. So I think a lot of focus is there right now around the word green. It is green fuel, green vessel, EV, how you are, kind of getting, even when we don't use tissue paper, actually it's a green initiative. It's as simple as that, right? So the word green is, I think, the first word that I'll put here in my audience. Second word is, is called more like a circulatory kind of circular supply chain. So when we talk about circular supply chain, we are talking about reduction, refurbishment, and reuse. So how many of the things? So generally, the moment you could talk about sustainability, about green, people are like, oh, the only C that they can think of is cost. So it's not how it works. There are a lot of initiatives which can be taken without increasing your cost, rather reducing your cost. So that is the second point that comes to my mind. And third is I put it like a big D for me. So data-driven, digital, technology, all your AI, ML, blockchain, everything comes into that piece. So in short, I think what I would like to say that, when a trend is already there, so we have moved from where we were 20 years ago, where we were thinking, oh, will this happen? How will this happen? But now we are on the cusp of it. It is happening. How soon we onboard on that flight is I think, our choice.
No, I think well said, right? I think, so ultimately, yeah, many companies think we actually kind of embarks the journey as a choice, but I think given the next generation, I think also the very conscious about the environmental friendly products and services and so on and so forth, I think that will become more evident over the next 5-10 years. I think we should get ready for that, right? And at least we should have I think many clients, what I'm hearing from my side, let's have aspirational metrics, and the outcome metrics will come over a period of time. Let's have aspirational metrics, then the outcome and process level metrics will come. Maybe given that the metrics journey, right? Maybe I'll come back to Abhishek, right? So from your company, would love to understand from a sustainability angle, right? The carbon emission can be in terms of logistics, warehousing, or end-to-end sustainability angle, right? What metrics you follow today, right? At least top 2 or 3 metric to aspire and you follow today? And how do you set the target? Is it like a look at the best practices, benchmark, and set yourself, or you pilot yourself and set the target, some of the initiatives? So how do you decide the metrics, and what do you metrics you decide? How do you kind of set the target? So maybe if you could share your journey on the sustainability metrics and targets, would be helpful for the audience to get to know.
So we have the targets across the different verticals, etc. So like I will give example of products. So we have taken a target to make our products more healthier, reduce the uses of sugar, sodium, increase the uses of whole grain. So we year on year we take the targets, and talking about how do we set the target, it can be outward looking at the benchmark competitors, and in some cases it can be taking the targets on your own, becoming more and more aspirational. So every year we try to break those. So that's the way, and it's a year on year sustainable improvement. That's the idea. So talking about the product I was talking about, though, like last year we were able to reduce the sugar consumption by almost by 2%. Similar on the sodium side, were able to reduce the sodium consumption by 2%, increase the whole grain consumption by around 2%. Similarly, talking about the other areas, we have taken targets on reducing the overall specific water consumption, or increasing the uses of the renewable energy. The other areas are like in plastic. So in the like we are a food product where there is a lot of packaging, etc., is being used. So there also we are taking a target of reducing the tray. So like last year we have been able to reduce the quantum of tray used by almost 19 metric tons. Similarly, on the packaging side, we are trying to use more and more of recyclable plastics. Moving on to the distribution side, we are taking targets on reducing the carbon emissions by going for EV vehicles or reducing the distance traveled to the market. So these are some of the examples.
Any EV, on the EV part, right? How the journey, especially EV, is it something like driven by the specific target I actually focus
There are
this region?
two angles to it. One is the sustainability angle.
Okay.
Other angle is that it is giving a commercial benefit also.
Right.
So if you, as I was talking about earlier, so there has been a lot of adoption on the smaller vehicle side, especially in the front-end distribution, which is from the distributor to a retail. But on the back-end side, it is yet to fully take off because the large capacity vehicles are not readily available. And if they are available, they are very, very costly. But on the front-end side, definitely that has taken off in a very good way.
No, this is helpful, right? I think at least, I think many organizations struggle, especially like, how do we, while actually have whether it should come in my CXO level dashboard as a metric, or it should come as a, day-to-day operational metric, right? So that's a kind of a debate. In a S&OP meeting, should I actually talk about my on time in full, what happened in the past, and what is the predictability for next month, the demand forecasting, and then et cetera, should that come as a metric, or even sustainability should come as a metric, right? So that game changing happening. So I could hear from you, right? So yeah, thanks Abhishek. Maybe Manoj, I'll probably get your thoughts, right? I think, I'm not sure whether you know Adverb already as a company. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Now, the technology, right? One area, technology, how we can leverage technology. I mean, I know using technology, whether it actually reduces sustainability or not, I don't know. But from your viewpoint, are you at least, from your experience, from your, company point of view, are you actually utilizing technology to reduce, carbon emissions and so on and so forth? Or what technology you kind of bring in to kind of measure or evaluate? So maybe the tech part in the complete sustainability angle, if you could actually share your thoughts, that'd be helpful. Then I'll probably go back and verify with the Sumit later.
Yeah. No, I think interesting question. As we are developing or the consciousness towards sustainability is increasing, I believe the technology is also following. And while it is, I would break it into two parts. One is that what is happening in general in industry, and how technology is helping build a more sustainable supply chain. So we Zeiss as a company, while most of people know about Zeiss in terms of their lenses, but if you read about the company, it's a very large company, or probably spectacle lens is not one of our biggest business. There are other businesses where we deal in medical devices, etc. And I would say a lot of software and IoT related things in technology is actually changing the whole paradigm of how devices will work. You know, one of the simplest example that probably the whole audience can relate to is basically, there is these days the fans which are coming, which is BLDC, or you can say, which can switch on and off when looking at whether somebody is there in the room or not. It's about switch lights as well. So we have changed whole of our premises into, these are simple examples, but think about machineries which are running and consuming high amount of power, right? In earlier days, these machines used to run when they are unmonitored, right? And today you have mechanism or IoT technologies which can quickly switch off these devices and save huge amount of power, right? So this is one live example of how technology is really helping us becoming more sustainable, not putting that mental load on people, that you have to take care of it if you forget it, and then huge energy consumptions are saved. That is one part of it. The second is, I believe, the power of, the data analytics, and I think one of Suchitra also talked about it, is that the analytics and big data is helping us understand the whole network, maybe create digital twine, and understand that, people are these days now trying to understand what is my power consumption, which point in the whole warehouse also you can do a study, right? And see that where the consumption is high, where I need to change certain devices which will kind of improve the power consumption, etc. And the third one I would say is nothing but technology which is happening very rapidly changing in the renewable power segment, right? So the biggest problem that we used to hear about, solar power is that my plant cannot run, as Sumit just mentioned, because you have to have those many rooftop panels. Now these days you have open access contracts, right? So the power is getting reeled through the same BESCOM or regular power channels to your premises, right? Somebody else is producing it there at the grid. So this is like a technological advancement that has happened, which is helping sustainability in a big way.
No, I think very, very valid point, right? So, see, one question, kind of a debate question, so to all of us, right? So, I know we talked about the resilience, how do you make it more flexible, the dual sourcing and the nearshoring, offshoring, a lot of things are evolving, right? So, one dimension is like make it flexible, make it agile, make it resilient. At the same time, that also has to tag to a sustainability, right? So maybe Manoj, you can add on here, right? So how do we actually solve both equation? Is it like can actually have some degree of resilience and then stop it? This is actually not sustainable for us, and then think about sustainability and then reduce the resilience. So how you solve it today? Imagine this equation is so complex to solve. How you will solve it?
Yeah, I would say resilience again is a term which is usually kind of linked directly to the cost.
Right.
So when people talk about whether business continuity or being resilient, I believe, as Abhishek mentioned, I would agree with that thought, saying that many a times if we see whether moving towards EV, what are you utilizing? You're utilizing solar power probably, which is never ending or ever ending for some years till the time we are in our lifetimes. So these are the sources which are abundant. While when we talk about thermal power or fossil fuel sources of energy, they are limited. And when we talk about being resilient, this sources, or you can say these sources of power or energy, are becoming more and more affordable for everyone.
Right.
So this kind of, for me, is actually the same side of the coin.
Right.
It need to be read in the same,
not the other side.
not the other side of the coin. Actually, it is mostly achieved together. And I remember, as you were rightly, when you started your context, I think for most of us in our company, it is not a debate when you say that I want to do this sustainability initiative because this is saving X, Y, Z amount of cost. It is immediately approved, right? You will find this because there are a lot of correlation between the two. Whenever you will do a sustainability initiative, it is helping you save some amount of cost because it is more efficient way of operating, right? The second way where maybe sometimes people need to spend cost, there also I think not willingly, but the management is these days kind of directed towards by the government of India, where they need to share some percentage of profit towards the CSR initiatives, right? Wherein not only, let's say, related to environment, but it can relate to environment or society, where companies are directed towards, spend.
No, no, well said. I think, see, there was one debate with my client, right? So, one of the auto OEM supplier client. So, they actually have three-tier network. They actually have a plant, they have multiple warehouses, they have multiple depots, the hub and spoke, and then the final dealer, distributor and dealer, right? So, the point of debate is, hey, I want to optimize my network. Can I go from the three-tier network to a two-tier so that I can reduce my number of warehouses, reduces the cost. Also, sustainability will actually come along because I'm reducing the overall locations and the number of distance travel. But the debate is the service level. Oh, come on, the service level, I probably have to stock in 2 different locations. Service level actually, I can actually solve any point of time. Now this company is okay. I also have a goal on resilience. How do we make it more flexible and service level? So this is a very confounding setup, right? So this company, I tell you what they've done. We served them, right? So they've actually moved to a different business operating model. So they said, okay, fine. I will reduce my 140 number of depots to a 70 depots, right? They reduced it. And I add like 25 mother ups. Instead of 25, make it to a 12. Still, we have a 3-tier network. But on top of this, what are the direct dispatch feasible? Right? Can I do a direct dispatch? One question will come is, can I get a load formation? Will my plant actually form the load or not? Will come. To solve this problem, can I make some of the dealer as a distributor? So make some of the dealer as a distributor, empower them, make them actually give a premium to them. So they're trying to solve this problem in a complete ecosystem, right? So it is not like a one particular problem to solve. Network design problems solve some of the cost problem and some of the sustainability problem, may not solve the resilience. So it's a combination of business operating model, making my dealer as a distributor and empower some of my retailer to own the inventory of mine, right? And I actually also reward them, incentivize them, and so on and so forth. So I think, in my view, I think it's a combination of the operating model, business operating model, incentivization, and then your cost reduction, right? The ecosystem has to work, right? So that's where I've seen. Maybe I think I'll probably switch gears, maybe to you, Mr. Sitaraman, right? So since I mentioned ecosystem, one important ecosystem is supplier, right? Maybe I think many organizations now thinking, right? If I have to be sustainable, my supplier has to be sustainable, right? So that is the thing is coming as one of the important area, right? So how, in your experience, supplier ecosystem sustainability, how we are handling today? Is it easy journey, tough journey? How is it happening? And maybe some thoughts would be helpful because that is beyond our control, right? So what you do today from your industry would be helpful, Sitaraman.
I think you touched the correct point. I think most of the companies, especially in terms of upstream supply chains, the controls mechanism is very, very limited, right? So even now, as per a report, only like 45% of the supplier ecosystem are aware about the sustainable goals of their customers, right? Even so, the restriction there with the suppliers is that they are short in terms of resources, right? So in my current company or in my previous companies, it was a goal where we had sustainable measures, goals fixed for every supplier as part of the assessment metrics, which was a regular mechanism.
Like a chosen supplier or a
Yes.
chosen supplier?
So both, right? It's an active assessment plus any new vendor onboarding will have certain criteria where the sustainability has to be ensured. Based on that only they are onboarded. Certain things are a strict no in my current company and maybe previous company as well. So those are suppliers where even though they might have the infrastructure, but as a conscious call we said no. Right? That's something which every organization must take that risk, because if you want to have your own sustainable goals fulfilled, unless otherwise your upstream supplier fulfills that goals or makes a partnership towards that, right? You won't be able to fulfill that. So, and it's an active mechanism. You have to keep assessing your suppliers on a regular basis on the measures, on the goals, how have they fulfilled, and what are the ways of improvement. So it's a continuous development process. You need to keep educating your suppliers, what are the ways and means that they can improve certain things on the current process, which can be reduced, even in terms of the packaging, how we can reduce the sustainable or the single-use plastics. Those kind of things are something which, as an organization, which we should take a call, keeping the cost as well in mind, taking those efforts. Right? See, as an organization, for Titan, single-use plastic is a strict no. Right? So almost like 80% of more than our products does not have any single-use plastics. And we are turning more towards reusable materials. See, there is a notional concept where every consumer thinks that if it...
Cost efficient
So it is cost efficient in a way. So what we see as a perceived value of the packaging, right? That is what will make sense for us. See, every consumer thinks that switching over from plastic to paper is actually environmentally friendly, which is actually not. Right? It's not a sustainable move. You're cutting down even more trees to get into the paper-based packaging. So for us, we are trying to move into a more reusable material, which is a long-term use for the customers, right? That is the concept which we are trying to move instead of just having a paper-based packaging. And even for paper-based packaging, we are trying to use a lot of recycled foams, all those recycled materials, which is more sustainable. Maybe a tad bit expensive, but it is worth it, right? Because currently, I think the ecosystem and the consumers are pretty much aware about the environment and even on the sustainable measures. They agree to pay 5 to 10% extra if you put in all the sustainability measures. That's what we feel.
Very interesting, right? I think don't switch, rather I think reinvent within the same setup. I think so, since you said this story, right? Maybe I think, Sumit, to you, one of the story I'll probably tell you, right? So one of my client did a complete automation of the warehouse. Okay? It's a wires and cable client. They did a automated storage retrieval system, fully automated. I know the payback, you can actually vouch for it, so it takes a lot of time. I got to the chairman and I asked the chairman, so you run a complete ASRS, and what do you get out of it? Maybe a 6-7 years payback, and why do you invested so much on this? Okay, and then he gave a theory to me, okay, a very, very practical theory, right? He said, today, imagine the 30-40% of the demand actually come from an emergency, last minute, the fire happens in some residential or commercial building. I need wires and cables in the next 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, right? If my pick to pack time within the warehouse itself is like 6 to 8 hours, someone else actually will catch up that 30% demand. So today the pick to pack time, whenever there is a urgent orders comes to me, there is only 2 hours. So I'm solving the revenue uplift problem, which actually capturing the market. I become a dada in the market, number one. Second, I'm solving the margin revenue uplift. Second, I'm solving the sustainability, right? And I think that's where that was a wow for me. I think it's a combination of both coming along, solving the goals of sustainability and complete automation, and it's actually reduced the overall cost as well from warehousing point of view, right? So I think that's a story of one of my client. Maybe I think with this, I'll probably get your thoughts, right? How the sustainable warehouses today, how that is evolving. If I have to like make a model warehouse, imagine, right? So how do we try that? Because today robotics is evolving, that is actually changing the game. Would that add value on a sustainability angle, or is it costly effort? Would love to get your thoughts, right? So maybe, is it a myth? You want to kind of,
No, it's not a myth.
yeah.
It's not a myth. Of course, robotics and automation is impacting ESG. I can give you two examples, one for E, one for S, and the G you will figure out on your own. Okay, I'll start with S. So on the social front, if you look at the hazards, occupational hazards of running a manual store, manual warehouse, data shows that typically an operator will walk around 20-25 kilometers in a day, often carrying weights of 7 to 15 kgs, maybe sometimes 25-30 kgs. So over a period of time, let's say 7 years, 8 years, they start developing joint problems. And if they prolong, and these operators also work overtime. So when they work overtime, they work for prolonged hours for many years, they start getting these problems and they become incapable of doing manual labor after some point in time. And that's the major hazard. So in this backdrop, now you visualize adverb's vision statement. It says, touching human lives by pioneering human-robot collaboration. So what we're essentially saying is that robots will do what they do best, which is carrying material, and humans will do what they do best, which is solving complex problems and managing the automated system. Both will coexist. Robots will not take away humans' jobs, but both will coexist. And that's where the automation impacts the S part of ESG.
Okay.
On the environment front, I think it's fairly simple. If you have a manual warehouse and you are growing at 12%, and you can work your own numbers, 12% growth in probably 5 years' time, you will be significantly handling more SKUs and significant number of orders per day in a span of 5 to 6 years. And the pressure will start building on space and time. Then you have two options. Either you open another warehouse, which means you take a green land outside a city, cut trees, build a warehouse, take power connection. That's not green. That's absolutely carbon black. Okay. The other option is you come to Adverb and we'll automate the existing warehouse. So automation will utilize the full space. Manual is basically manual warehouses utilize the area better. Automated store warehouses will utilize the entire height and space. So instead of opening another warehouse, you can use the same warehouse to stock more SKUs. Automation also reduces your lead time and increases the throughput by a great margin. So you obviate or negate the need of opening another warehouse. And that's a large capex you avoid. You go for a smaller capex, which means automation. There's complete business sense there.
Okay,
Yeah,
now I think
E and S both are addressed. Governance, you will all know, manual warehouse, the amount of breakages, pilferages, stock reconciliation, the amount of effort you have to do there, that gets minimized if it is automated. So that's a no-brainer.
is it like you advise for just pilot it and then started, or a big bang, where you have seen, kind of the robotic?
Each client is on their own. It's different for each client, their philosophy and all. I think one common philosophy which we've seen across clients is, and that philosophy has something common with Johnny Walker. And it says, I may walk slow, but I never walk backwards. So every company is treading slowly on the sustainability agenda, but they never walk backwards. And that's, I think, the whole crux of it.
No, interesting. Thanks, Sumit. Maybe to Suchita, to you, I think, see, one of my challenge which I've heard, which I actually face, when we handle clients, and clients also say this, right? Lot of concepts on accessibility, lot of thought process coming along, cross-functional thought process, right? So how do you conceptualize the idea? Right? We have to take it to it's a funnel, right? I have a set of ideas. I have to evaluate the idea. Once the evaluation is being done, the cross-functional team has to come together to align that. Then I probably pilot it and see, right? All this journey has to happen, right? So maybe the journey of conceptualizing the idea to the next level. So how that is happening in this journey? So what you do, or what is your thoughts? If at all somebody actually have some idea, how do you kind of take this forward? Maybe share your thoughts would be helpful, yeah.
Sure, thanks, Anish. So how I would put it is, your conceptualization starts with the benefits that you perceive from that particular initiative, right? So once you perceive the benefit, you will adopt it, you will inculcate it, and you will change it. So first of all, as an organization or as an individual, we should have that visibility, that what is it I am targeting and in what time frame I am targeting. So once we have that roadmap, then you can always work backwards, that okay, should I, now comes the cost, right? The favorite topic of everyone. So now how do you put that cost? Do you look at the perceived cost, or do you do the total actual costing, right? And then again, the life cycle cost piece of it will fall into it. Like, are you looking at a 6-month thing, or are you looking at a 5-year thing? Right? So cost, the most favorite topic, so that's why I am pointing it out first. So it is, again, when you look at a 5-year life cycle cost, then you will see that what you invested, maybe looking at a 6-month timeline, was a total bad decision. You should have looked at a 5-year kind of a time frame, or a 2-year. So that will again vary from organization scale, structure, etc. So that is one piece of it. Second, I think what you're trying to hint is also towards the integration, right? From the conceptualization to realizing what all you have to integrate. So that's why we talk about the agile methodology, etc., right? These days you cannot do anything this and then this and then this. You simultaneously start.
Sprint base.
Yes, yes.
Sprint base. Okay.
Yeah. So every technology change is sprint based now. You cannot go one at a time, because that way what happens is you fail early and you correct early. So you are not waiting for the complete product to be evolved and then I go back and say, oh no, Ganesh, this is not working for me. Please change everything. I don't go to, Adverb and say this didn't work out for me. So that's how I think the sprint based concept, that is very essential. Most important is, again, I would point it back, the mind change. Where there is a mind change, where the objectives are clear, you are not thinking, oh, maybe this, maybe that. It wouldn't work out. Very simple. It will work out when you have the data.
No, helpful, helpful. I think the culture, mindset, how do you kind of shift the overall capability is also very important, right? Yes. So you touched a very critical point, right? So maybe Florence, one of the area which I'm thinking, right? So I know the circular value chain, the circular economy as overall concept evolving, right? So maybe from your industry as a Legrand as an industry, what are the practices you actually follow from a circular economy point of view? Because today it can be reusable, or it can be recyclable, or move to the new product. I mean, that's all actually one dimension. But what do you follow? What is your viewpoint from a circular value chain or a circular economy point of view? Maybe if you could throw some light, that would be helpful.
Yeah, sure. So at Legrand, we have a very clear roadmap, which is deployed by the group every 3 years with strict objectives on all areas of the sustainability. Circular economy is, of course, one. So one of our objectives, for instance, is to deploy a packaging which is 100% recyclable. Single-use plastic has to be completely banned and replaced by either biodegradable plastic. Sorry. We have also to lead a certain number of circular economy projects every year. So I would say it's a variety of objectives on all aspects. Recyclable material has to be used for the product, for the packaging. Elimination also of the weight of the packages. I can maybe give some example of circular economy project we have done now in the last couple of years. So one of our entities, Numeric, it's manufacturing UPSs in Chennai. So what we do now is that we identify all the UPSs which have been with the customers for past 5 to 10 years, and we propose to buy it back in order to refurbish it and then sell it as a second hand through a specialized distributor. So this is one of the ways we are doing it currently.
Got it. No, helpful. Thanks. I know we have another 15 minutes to go. We probably keep last 10 minutes for the Q&A. I'll probably do a rapid fire round. Maybe a 1 minute level each of you, if you could actually share some of your success story. I think that would be helpful, right? So maybe, but I have a very special question to you, Sumit, right? So I have this, I've read this from your, Mr. Sangeet Kumar, co-founder. What he said is, Adverb harnesses solar energy, employs energy efficient machinery, integrates lean manufacturing practices to reduce the GHG, right? right? So that's what I think he has clearly mentioned in the interview, right? So especially towards the power consumption and so on and so forth, right? So is it I mean, how was the journey, right? Because like your business, given your automation scale and so on and so forth, so maybe like a quick 1 minute level. So what was the roadblocks and what are the, I mean, how your journey which has happened, to get this state
Yeah.
now?
I'm going to tell Sangeet that he's being tracked by CII and McKinsey. Yeah. Okay. I'll give an example of this, okay, the manufacturing. In our manufacturing facility, we have a paint shop. And paint shop traditionally is a very power-intensive operation. We have shot blasting where small balls of steel are hit on the part to make it smooth, and then it goes into spraying, and then there's baking for 45 minutes. It's a long process, very energy intensive. We've decided to run the paint shop every alternate day. That's a big decision to make because the entire factory has to align all the parts which have to go into the paint shop on alternate day basis. Maybe for not the entire month, but a large part of the month, we run it only on alternate days, and we're saving power of that energy intensive operation. And that's where lean manufacturing comes into play.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
Flow of material from the other operations has to align
Okay.
that alternate day of the paint shop running.
Okay. So then
So
we have an integrated view as to come.
Correct.
Very good. Maybe from your side, Manoj, one success story or maybe I think on the sustainability angle, so
Yeah.
would be helpful.
No, so yeah, so for us, I think first big move which was there was to move to 95% solar in our manufacturing facility, right? And that was, of course, the trust and the power consumption, etc. We were not sure about the consumption rates, etc., etc. But slowly, I think now is stabilized. Every year, we are now clocking above 95% power consumption in our production facility, at least, to solar power. And for me, I think it's not only that you do it only in your operation. We are also doing a lot of projects under our CSR/sustainability initiative, where let's say we have towards airport, we have a small township which is the airport now, which is Devanhalli. So we also try to find out with the help of some NGOs some really good problems to solve for. And now there was a water crisis or problem in northern part of the Bangalore. Everybody knows about it. We have done a complete water, you can say, treatment plant plus utilizing the lake water to basically make it potable and circulating it. So half the capacity of the township is what is being augmented by this treatment plant. So we are doing that as well.
Very interesting. Maybe Abhishek from your side.
Yeah, so as we talked about earlier also, so we have a very, very large distribution footprint. We almost reach out to millions of outlets. So one of the key things which we have been driving is that how do we reduce the overall distance travel to the market, and one of the key things which we have been doing, try to move the facilities more closer to the market. So, and this has been a sustainable effort which has been an ongoing exercise year on year, and over last couple of years we have been able to reduce the distance almost by half.
No, interesting. One of my client actually, how do I move to consumer? Consumer is fine. How do I move to the farmer? I think one of the tractor company has done this, right? So move the production directly to the farmer. Farmer actually have the app. They actually kind of use the app and order for the tractor. I don't know how the ecosystem is going to support this. I don't know, but this is more of moving to the farmers directly and then try to kind of reduce the overall the distance as well. I think these are some of the reaching to the farmer, reaching the consumer is also like another dimension evolving, right? So maybe 1 minute level from your side.
See, at a corporate level, as I mentioned, so it's a culture for us in our organization. Our campus doesn't have any air conditioners, so it actually runs with a water coolant based system. There's a innovative concept which has been installed in our campus, where the temperature inside the premises is close to about 4 to 5 degrees lesser than the environment outside. That's how it is run, and it's a circular usage of water which has been done, and we have an in-house lake, small lake, inside the campus itself. That's how it has been done. In terms of supply chain, as I mentioned, we value more of our partners who come into the sustainable fold. So currently we have close to about like in one of our divisions, 49% of our suppliers come with a sustainable source, that is from the ethical supply chain background as such. We are trying to increase that to close to about 70% more. And on the sustainable packaging aspect, considering our retail network as such, we are striving to achieve more than 50% of our packaging should be on the sustainable front, which with more of reusable materials packaging by this year, financial year end.
Very interesting. I think both non-supply chain, supply chain is really admirable. Maybe I know we have another 8 minutes to go. Maybe I think questions, probably from the audience. Probably we'll have keep like a 5-6 question max. Please, can you pass a mic? Maybe if you want to have a specific questions, probably mention the expert. Otherwise, I will choose the expert to kind of ask.
So good afternoon. My name is Nitish. I'm from FreightFox. I will be very quick. I have a more fundamental question with regard to EV. So if we look at India's grid emission factor that includes the renewable power as well, it is at 0.72 kilograms of CO2 per kilowatt hour of electricity. Against US, which is 0.38, European Union, which is 0.25. Compare Tata Ace EV versus diesel. Payload of 650 kgs versus 950 kgs. And just do the calculations. The per kilometer emission from the EV turns out to be 0.13 kilograms of CO2 per kilometer. From diesel, it is about 0.11. And I'm taking well to wheel here. So I just wanted to understand your perspective that where in this story of EV we fit in. Because fundamentally, it is good for US, which is 0.38, Europe, which is 0.25. Here, it is very, very difficult to understand how it is fitting in. So yeah, if some perspective can be given on that.
Anyone would?
So as I talked about it, you are right that the current sizes of the vehicles, these are small. But now the companies are evolving and there we are seeing all the larger vehicles coming. So some of the companies have started using it and I'm sure over a period of time, this will, all the large capacity vehicles will start coming into India, which will be economical and there will be adoption. And there will be a case to use it.
Probably I think I'll answer this question also from my other experience. The in-house, for example, like one of my refinery mining company, right? So the inbound logistics within their control with the right setup, with the right vehicles, that I think is changing the game. I don't know about the outbound, how did it evolve with the our Indian setup, traffic conditions and so on and so forth. But a controllable environment, I have my inbound logistics within our plant, from the refine to the plant and so on and so forth. They're embarking the journey with the newer vehicles and newer setup. So that's what I've seen. That is my other experience, maybe.
Yeah, one more point I'll add. You mentioned that, renewable plus non-renewable energy sources for charging. See, one of the factors which is very important in India right now in terms of EV is that you do not have right now, I would say not even 10%, right, renewable sources of energy for charging the EVs. Most of the EVs which are being charged today are, again, the power is coming from your, thermal grid. Yeah. That is one of the biggest factor which will change over a period of time. Like at some point of time, you did not had every 5 kilometers a petrol pump. So when you have renewable power of sources, let's say, equivalent to every petrol pump, probably this factor will also change significantly.
Thanks, Manoj.
Apart from the load factor, of course.
Awesome. Any other thoughts? Good. Second, yeah, other question? I could see somebody else.
Hello.
Pass up. Yes, sir, please.
Good afternoon. This question is about a product which is not connected to any of them. Okay. We are talking about a circular sustainability. And there are a lot of buyback schemes are also run by different companies. Like I buy back your refrigerator, I'll give you a new refrigerator. I buy back your car, I'll give you a new car. Like that, a lot of schemes are running. What do they do in that buyback? Are they doing circular sustainability, like breaking them down to the loose parts, final end usable material? Is it going back to the manufacturing? Is there any formal scheme or a standard operating procedure available in India in these kind of companies? Is one question, sir. Question number two, related to Susita madam. The ocean international trade, the empty containers displacement to the different origins is a very big challenge. Okay, it very similar analogy is a college bus which is running in our roads. After dropping down all the students, the college bus goes empty. It runs up to the college. Okay, these two are very perennial problems which I have understood and I have observed. How to make the sustainability or a kind of routing optimization for the empty ocean containers, how to make this optimization for these college buses. It should not run empty. They can change the board as a government bus, like a BMTC bus, from the last point after dropping the boy or a student. Okay.
Maybe the first question, I probably, example is you.
So for the first question on the circular economy, I think currently most of the organizations what is trying to do is extract the reusable materials, especially the metals, right, from the old products. That's how they can reuse it, right, which is part of the circular economy for their manufacturing process, right. But if you say that it is actually being consumed by every organization, that it is being recycled and being directly taken for the production, I don't think so, to be frank, right? It goes into the market. Whoever wants to use that recycled materials are part of the procurement process. It comes back into the circular economy for the manufacturing process.
I think I cannot say the name. The high-tech electronics client, multinational client in India is establishing and embarking the journey, refurbishing the phones. Cannot say the name at this forum, but that is happening in India from the, maybe Southeast Asia, it has evolved to India. So that's what I think happening in this industry. Maybe Sujita,
Yeah, maybe on the first point, I'll add something. It actually depends on industry to industry and company to company. There are many companies, let's say you took an example of automobile. There are two ways, and I think this broad two ways will fit in any company who does the buyback business. This is in a way like you buy back the old equipment and you kind of replace it with a new equipment. So two things can happen broadly with this bought back equipment is, one is that you can repurpose it. I mean to say there are clients, let's say, why do you think the companies like Spinny, OLX, etc. are running? Because their whole business model is built on basically repurposing or making it like new for the people who cannot afford the higher grade of vehicles, but they want to still, let's say, I want to own a BMW, but I don't want to own a new one. I probably can go for that. The second is basically when they buy back, it's not in a condition that it can be refurbished, then it has to be, currently the awareness is low, but I think most of the responsible organizations are making sure that they are using their end producer responsibility and they're scrapping it in the rightful way.
Yeah, I'll take the second question maybe. So on the container utilization, as rightly pointed out, a lot of activity is going on in terms of bringing visibility that how it can be better utilized. So there are several initiatives being taken that how, that if it refers to a particular customer, then how can we better manage it in terms of should we return it empty? Should we have a separate cargo plan? So it all relates back to the cargo load plan. And now, as Maersk being a huge organization and working across the globe, the complexity becomes, the challenge is that, that exact visibility is not there, where we are taking support of technology, etc. So that is also a very crucial part of this entire sustainability journey.
The empty container repositioning as a problem, which is like, I've seen like many companies, kind of revisiting as optimization problem connects the complete ecosystem. So that's where I think happening. Maybe we'll take another one question. So
hello. Yeah, I'm Subham from NT Data. So my question is on EV. So we are talking about EV in terms of sustainable, but there are other problems associated with EV as well, like excess mining of lithium, energy consumption again not coming from renewable sources, recycling of batteries, lithium batteries, still we are not able to figure out how we need to do. So what I think that EV is not a very sustainable way to grow. Don't you think that it is being labeled or sold to us as an EV as a sustainable model to grow with?
So, very interesting question. And actually, I believe like today, there is a EV business which is prospering. I clearly can see 2 to 5 years down the line, the EV battery which is getting probably scrapped, the recycling business of that would be one of the another big business, which will kind of, rise up. Uh, I would say in the current context, you need to choose the lesser of the evil, right? That's the term I would like to call it. Till the time we build vehicles which can run on hydrogen, let's say, or on a solar power as efficiently as we want it, right? I think the progress which is happening currently and why EV is being sold is that there was a point in time where EVs, it's not new, EVs were there, but they were not being, they have not been so practical or usable for general purpose use. One of the smallest example I'll give you, the first few EVs or scooters that came in India had a range of 30 kilometers in one charge. Today that range has gone to 150 kilometers. Same is with cars. Reva, which was the old one, you can remember, I don't know exactly what was the range, but today cars, normal Nexon car can go 400 plus kilometers. So the point is not only that whether EV is being sold more, but the technology has been evolving to make them more efficient. Yes, the lithium mining, etc., you cannot avoid it. But the point is that, is it better than fossil fuel vehicle? The answer is yes.
So to add to, maybe I'll just take a minute. So it's an evolving technology. That's the word, right? It's an evolving technology. It's not the end to the goal. It's still evolving. And I think the better way of looking at it will be the new business models that are coming in. So you know about the recent MG Comet, right? So it has been relaunched with a much reduced price where they're swapping the batteries. So different models will work around that, and I'm hoping that will become much more a viable solution. But as I said, it's not the final thing to where we are headed.
Thanks, panel. I think it's a very rich, full discussion. I'm sorry, paucity of time, we probably can have it during the coffee break, but we're already, I think, overtime of 5-6 minutes, I think.
Down to single digit, right? To my understanding, India, as far as transportation cost is concerned, it is the least cost. So which are the potential areas which you think logistic cost can be reduced?
Maybe I think Mr. Gadkari's remark, which was coming on the logistics cost, it is not related to you reduce and negotiate the price further with the transporter. It is surely not coming from that angle. It is primarily coming from India's infrastructure. Yeah. So India's infrastructure, if you see the road infrastructure, the kind of waiting times that are there, either on tolls, which has been improving since the time we have implemented FASTag, but sheerly look at the quality of the roads which are there across India, right? The major part of reduction in emission, or you can say logistics cost, will come when this condition of the infrastructure improves. Yeah, the waiting times, long hauls and short hauls reduces.
Do you believe that infrastructure can reduce the cost by 5%?
This will be a contributor. I am saying it may not reduce completely by 5%, but this will be one of the big contributors.
See, I think adding up to Mr. Manoj, I think, see, the current infrastructure what we have in terms of transportation is heavily dependent only on surface mode, right? Until we move more towards the rail freight corridors, right, which is a much more energy efficient way, right, a cost effective manner, I don't think it will reduce immediately. We still have a very long way to catch up to that goal.
20 different answers for this, and we're very happy to kind of discuss during the break. Thanks, panel, I think, for the rich, full discussion. And hope sustainability is not a, she said, it's like a lot of technology, a lot of process. It's not a end of the goal. I think it's a beginning. I think many people actually look at from both angle of how do we actually give back to society and also give back to other firm or the company what you work. I think it's a fabulous discussion happened in the last 1.5 hours. I think we can continue the discussion in the coffee break. Thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks all.